Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 14, Episode 11. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for joining us here on this Sunday episode of the podcast as we are recapping the Pittsburgh Steelers preseason victory over the Buffalo Bills 27-15 Saturday night at Acrisure Stadium. Pittsburgh winning this one fairly convincingly. The first-team offense looking really good. If I could just take a moment here and quote a band that is not as good as Journey, but Queen here. Is this real life or is this a fantasy game? This Steelers offense is looking sharp.
What are you trying to pander to me now or something like that, or the listeners?
Just a little inside joke for all of us hardcore listeners.
Everybody knows that, or should know by now about your Journey take there. Hey, I like you. I like you mixing in some Queen and all like that. I think that's good for you there.
Okay.
Look, I'm very disappointed this morning. You know, I'm disappointed they did shut the Bills out.
But we'll talk about why that was here with one man in particular in a moment.
Yeah. Look, if that's what I have to be disappointed about coming out of a second of three preseason games at this stage, that must mean things went pretty good. Man, you learn over the years to try not to get too hyped up, or too low about preseason. And, I imagine you feel the same, even going through training camp practices at this point, because you've been through so many of them and all like that. And obviously preseason is really the first good look that I'd get at this team. And, especially the a lot of the new guys and the rookies, and as far as that goes. But I mean, it's really hard right now after two preseason games, especially when you look at some of these younger players on this roster, first and second year players for the most part. It's hard not to get excited about this team right now.
You're right. I mean, it's all gone according to plan, and rarely does that ever happen, especially early in a year. You got some young guys out there, some guys disappoint, some guys exceed expectations. That's just sort of the general, usual, natural flow of the preseason. But the good times will not roll forever, and who knows what will happen come September 10th against the 49ers. But you got to be really happy, offense, defense, and special teams, with where this team is at currently.
Yeah, look, all three phases, especially through the first half of that game, really contributed to this thing. And once again, I think look, they obviously did some game planning here. To what degree, it's obviously hard to say, but within that, though, there's still, a lot of vanilla stuff. I think you can even tell that in the TV tape, because when we're recording this, what time is it? It's 10:15 on the East Coast. The all 22 still hasn't hit from the game, and probably won't for another few hours here. But obviously watching it live the first time and going back through last night, I think I made it through, I don't know, about 3/4 way through it after we got all things settled down and all like that. But there were a lot of strong performances on both sides of the football. And once again, I try to focus a lot on players that, either the second year players or obviously the rookies, especially this time of preseason. And look, I mean, Kenny Pickett's one of those guys, and Jaylen Warren's one of those guys. You got a lot of new pieces on offense, and in Allen Robinson and Isaac Seumalo, and obviously a few more rookies within there. Then you turn over to the defensive side of football, and you had the preseason debut of Joey Porter Jr. You had your three safeties out there. You saw Cam and Watt in this game, and Nick Herbig got a much larger selection of snaps. And also one of the things that you were looking forward is some of these younger players who excelled in that first game, getting snaps against a little bit better quality competition, and that was accomplished as well. So with all that out of the way, where would you like to start in this thing?
Well, let's just do quick housekeeping, and that's another positive here. Again, knock on wood, short turnaround to the Thursday night preseason finale against Atlanta, but Pittsburgh pretty healthy. I mean, some players didn't play in this game that we knew were not going to suit up, and Larry Ogunjobi, Nate Herbig, Trey Norwood, some other guys that surprisingly did not see action that we don't know the reason for. Hakeem Butler, Quincy Roche, but not guys that are going to materially change the outlook of the Steelers 2023 season. Mike Tomlin after the game saying that Pittsburgh exited this one, to his knowledge at the time, healthy and in good shape. And so that's another really good component of this summer as well. This team has been healthy and available. But let's start here with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. And I mean, just kind of talk about the first string offense in general, maybe here. You get the big 62-yard touchdown by Jaylen Warren. And then after Calvin Austin's 54-yard punt return, sets up a Kenny Pickett, just great throw to Pat Freiermuth down the seam against cover 2 for 25 yards and another touchdown. So, I mean, just, through 2 games for the starting offense, 3 drives, 3 touchdowns, a bunch of explosive plays. Is this the same offense? I mean, clearly it's not, because they were doing things they just were not capable of doing last year.
Well, I mean, how many boxes have been checked already? And once again, yeah, we know it's preseason, yada, yada. But I mean, some of these things you had to start wondering if they could do regardless of the situation. The explosive plays, the middle of the field, the big runs, the yards after catch, those kind of things. Especially on the offensive side, Kenny Pickett's adjusted net yards per passing attempt number is 13.91. But put him in the Hall of Fame. Look, I mean, if you get a quarterback to that plays a considerable amount of playing time and throughout the season, and he gets and he carries like a 8.2 or 8.5. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, there now look, it's a small sample size here, but that small sample size when it comes to Kenny Pickett so far through these first 2 preseason games has been, I mean, for lack of a better word, perfect. If you want to be honest, we've seen him do a lot of things here, reading coverages, the touchdown. He talked after the game about the touchdown to Pat Freiermuth and recognizing, the coverage there, when he, and we don't even have the all 22 tape, but just on the TV tape alone, going kind of frame by frame on that throw, just on the regular TV angle, that ball's in the air, and there's a linebacker with his head, turned, trying to run with Freiermuth. And I mean, that's all about feel and knowing where your guy is going to be on the field, and knowing what the defense is going to be. So, and the throw to Pickens in the first preseason game, to me, really at least highlights that accuracy component of Pickett. And then the second component of that, I would say, would be just kind of the feel and the understanding of what he's looking at, and just a repetition component of it. And obviously he was only in this game for 2 series, and the first series culminated in a nice triple explosive play by Jaylen Warren. But even before that, I thought you saw some good pocket presence by Pickett on that opening drive there. And, you just wondering now how all this will translate to regular season, larger snap counts.
And that second series was less of a series, more of a play, but it was a great play at that. And you'll take that every single time. And I think what you're seeing from the Pickens touchdown last week, the good yak ball over the middle that you didn't always get last year, and then against Buffalo last night, throwing receivers open. In the film room breakdown I did on that Pickett touchdown to Freiermuth this morning, in college, receivers are open. You throw to open players. In the NFL, you have to throw guys open. The coverage is too tight. The schemes are too sound to try to throw two open receivers consistently. If you do that in the NFL, you're not going to succeed long term. And so it's cover two, linebacker playing inside leverage underneath, throw backside shoulder to throw Freiermuth open, but in a perfect place where it's away from the linebacker, but not carrying Freiermuth into the safety trying to close in. I mean, that's exactly where that ball needed to be. And that is the definition of throwing a receiver open, because if Pickett throws to the inside front shoulder, it's going to be contested. It's going to be covered. Probably not a touchdown, but to throw that back shoulder, as you said, Dave, that is high level accuracy. And that is how quarterbacks have to play in the NFL.
8-ball corner pocket, right? I mean,
Amen.
Literally, those two touchdown throws, these past 2 weeks. Yeah, I think you hit on it, and it brings in. I mean, you roll back to what Kevin Colbert said after the draft about him. The accuracy component with Kenny Pickett, and we've talked recently about the deep ball and the arm strength and wondering how this team is going to be able to stretch the field. And I think either a show or two ago I said you don't necessarily have to throw it. It'd be nice if you have somebody that can sling it 62 yards and all like that. But if you're able to connect on these things from the 20 to 30 yard range, like he's done in these last couple of weeks, and with the accuracy that he's doing it, especially in either the red zone or the high or the extended red zone area, and those go for touchdowns. Something that we only saw. What was the longest touchdown last year? Was to Pickens. Was
31 yards.
Yeah, was late in the season. I mean, that can really make up for the 52 air yard bomb down the sideline. Those kind of things there. So, and then look, I mean, just the use of the middle of the field on these two plays alone. I mean, Freiermuth's slap dab in the middle of the hash marks. Is that I didn't even know that was allowed. So once again, it's a small section of snaps so far here for him, but I mean, with what he's done with them in these first two preseason games has really been impressive.
It's been a 33-yard touchdown, a 62-yard touchdown, and a 25-yard touchdown for the first team offense in these two preseason games. And I believe the stat was, and someone else had it on Twitter, but we referenced it a lot, that I think Pittsburgh had 2 touchdowns outside the red zone all of last year. And so you have 3 in these first 2 games. I mean, it's night and day. And that's why, and I mentioned this in my game recap for the site this morning, that's why you get blown out by the Bills last year and get destroyed by the Eagles and go through all that crap at 2-6 at the bye, the growing pains of that offense. And the goal was to deal with that, put your head down, work through it, come out the other side. And this is hopefully the other side once these games start to count, where you've learned and you're have the scars from a year ago when the offense just looked a mess and everybody's older and wiser and more experienced and better technically, football IQ wise, whether it's Pickett, Pickens, Warren, the line, etc. You get the picture. And so hopefully you kind of look back at the end of this year and say, in a sense, you're almost glad you went through all the difficulties of 2022 early on, because it got you to the point that hopefully this team will get to.
Yeah, and some people will circle back last year now and say, "Why the hell wasn't he starting right out of the chute?"
right.
Let him get those growing pains out of the way the first 3.5 games into the season, and it kills me still to go back and look at the final standings, especially when the standings are done by the seeding. Instead of just regular. I mean, one game. You just win one more game last season, and they're in the playoffs. Now, obviously you don't know what happens at that point there, but you're talking about a difference of just one game from who was ahead of them. I think the Dolphins topping them there, and I mean let's even go back even earlier in this game and already mentioned I thought he really showed some good pocket poise there early. And then, I mean, don't get me started on the 60-something yard run. You know how I feel about.
We got to talk about it. Let's talk about it now.
Man. I mean, you know how I feel about those. Man, that thing was just blocked up so well by Sayamalu and Dan Moore out there, and I think who was even Mason Cole.
Daniels. I think Daniels had a good second level block.
Yeah, Daniels landed. He was the one I think that landed on top of his guy. I think on that one coming down, and then Deontay Johnson on the edge getting just enough of the defensive back there. Once you get something like that to split open like a ripe watermelon there right at the line of scrimmage, and you get that one block from Deontay out there, those things can go to the house, and explosive plays of 20 yards or longer by a running back are stealing. I mean, in today's NFL, if you get a run of 20 yards or longer, that is stealing. You get a run longer than that, it's unreal stealing. You get a run longer than that ends up in the end zone. I mean, that's I don't even know how to quantify that because it's happened so rarely. For this, we've seen it happen to the Steelers, right?
Right.
Go back,
it was a legend. It was the lore of this mythical creature.
Right. I mean, we've seen this how many times over the years happen against the Steelers with some of these running backs that go 60, 70 yards, and then not only that, they end up in the end zone. So, I mean, there's so many components of that one run that are worth getting excited about that. I mean, A, it's an explosive run of 20 yards or longer. B, it's triple explosive. And C, it ends up in the end zone. You don't have to worry about running down the field to finish it off in the short grass. Jaylen Warren's going to provide this team explosive plays for one way or the other. They're either going to be on the ground or they're going to be, through the passing game. And we talked about this a couple of episodes ago. You've got to find a way to get this guy on the field more than you had him last year. You just have to. And apologies to the Najee Harris fans. I think Najee can have obviously his role, and look, if this results in him being fresher throughout the game, and maybe getting in situations where in comes Najee in the fourth quarter with the 6 minutes left in the clock to wear their ass out, then so be it. But this component of the game that Jaylen Warren gives you cannot be ignored, I don't think.
You're right. He's a downhill guy, and he showed a second gear on the touchdown run I didn't know he had. The question with Warren has been, okay, like Harris, is there that real long speed? And to run away from, and not just any safety, not a fourth string rookie, but Jordan Poyer, who's been playing in the league for a long time. Now, he's an older guy and coming off, I think, a neck injury, so maybe that's an indictment on Poyer losing a step or two. But to see Warren hit that second gear to beat the safety who had the angle to the end zone, really impressive. As you went through those layers, explosive play, double explosive play touchdown, I think you just embodied the Vince McMahon meme on the internet, the big brain kind of view of that. So that made me laugh a lot there. But you're right. It's stuff we didn't see last year. And I have to nerd out. Where I nerd out the most is in those details, those little things. And shout out to Deontay Johnson for providing that block on the corner, Dane Jackson that put Warren 1v1 on the safety. I've said this so many times that I think explosive runs primarily come from that second, third level blocking by non-offensive linemen, by tight ends, by wide receivers. Those are the springboards that turn good runs into great runs and into touchdowns. And so when you get a block like Deontay, do the dirty work, didn't have a target, let alone a catch in this game, but he impacts the game in a different way by throwing a block to spring his running back for a touchdown. Those are the things, the hand in the pile type things, the detail things, the grunt work things that this offense will have to continue to have. But it was really good to see that last night.
Absolutely, it was, man. And that's the thing in Pittsburgh, right? Those guys on the edge have to block.
Mm-hmm. And you got some good blockers. I mean, I think
Mm-hmm.
Deontay, he made the play there, and Pickens, of course, can block. And you trade for Allen Robinson, who can block out of the slot, and Darnell Washington. And so you have guys that should be able to do that. And that's going to actually, I think, be the catalyst more than maybe anything else for those actual, big explosive plays in the run game.
Exactly. And now we just got to see this during the regular season. Now, we know they can do it.
Yeah, they've shown that so far. And Buffalo played their starters last night, so it wasn't like they were going against backups. I know they weren't game planning the way it would be for the regular season, and the stakes aren't as high. The intensity maybe didn't feel the same, but still, it was starters on starters, and Pittsburgh made the play. So let's kind of just back out for the offense, go position group by position group now that we've kind of hit the highlights offensively from this game. Quarterback play, Kenny Pickett, as you said, strong. Mitch Trubisky putting the ball in the end zone late in the half after the Porter interception. Took some doing, took a couple penalties, but Trubisky finding Connor Hayward. Overall, the quarterback play, I thought was pretty good last night.
Yeah, there was the one sack, but I mean, when you let that free guy run right on the one on Trubisky, you better be able to get that ball out. And Trubisky, I think, put it on the ground, but was able to get that back. But I mean, look, he's a veteran guy, and obviously working with a second unit there. So I've what you get with Trubisky, already, and I think he did make a couple of nice throws in this game. So, I mean, the quarterback play overall, and, Mason obviously saddled with you don't want to get in a situation where your number 3 emergency quarterback has to come into a game, ever. But at least now with this rule and the emergency quarterback rule, you'll have the ability to have someone in there. And I mean, you could do worse for a third string, emergency quarterback to come into the game, God forbid, than Mason Rudolph.
Sure. I think he's got to be one of the better, maybe the best number 3 quarterback in football. I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm sure, he's no worse than top 5, and that experience that he brings will be valuable. Yeah, no, none of the, am I forgetting something here? None of the top 3 quarterbacks have thrown a pick in the first 2 games. I know Morgan threw one in the opener, but Pickett and Trubisky and Rudolph have all been clean, correct?
I can get those totality.
I know Rudolph was almost picked, probably should have been picked. He was running like he was about to be picked last night, a little late on some of those curl routes he's thrown in camp and in this game in the preseason have been questionable. I don't know exactly what happened there. Maybe
Trubisky has the one interception that last week. The one to Cody White.
On the right sideline. I am blanking on that. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, they've taken care of the football, and that's obviously a big positive.
Yeah, they had 2 interceptions on the season. The one, and both of them coming in that first preseason.
Morgan had the other. Yeah. Okay. But I'm overall happy with the play of those guys. Running back, of course, Warren with the big run. Najee Harris, 2 carries for 6 yards. You mentioned earlier about Najee Harris in his role. What do you think his role should be for the season?
Well, look, I mean, I think he's going to be the guy starting off, obviously, here. But I just think you probably got to find a way to get Warren on the field and maybe even in some third down situations. Now, Najee's no slouch catching the football. And he proved that most definitely these first 2 seasons, and specifically in his first season. I mean, you can definitely use him in the passing game. I just think, especially in like long situations, like 2nd and long or 3rd and long type situation, I think that's a perfect opportunity to get Najee off the field and Jaylen Warren on it. And then on top of it, in an effort to save Najee during the game, I don't think you go in with a hard, fast plan, but I think you've got to be open to the idea, depending on how long some of these drives might be, of getting Warren out there for a full, 2 or 3 series a game.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, Warren became the third down back last year, and so I expect him to be the primary third down back in passing situations this year. And obviously he'll come in and spell Najee whenever he needs a breather. And you'll probably see where maybe I'm just kind of spitballing, but Najee Harris gets 2 series. Then the third offensive series, Jaylen Warren goes in there first and he gets, 5 plays. Maybe they switch back out or whatever the case is. So, I think Warren's going to eat into that early down role in addition to continuing his role as this team's third down back. So I don't know exactly how it plays out. As you said, there probably is no hard and fast number that you want to have. But obviously, Warren's going to continue to see reps.
Yes, he will. And once again, not that you didn't feel good about the backup situation coming out of last year, but I think at this point right now, and I thought Anthony McFarland did some good things again last night. So the ability to cut on. You could definitely, if he ends up making a roster as the number 3 back and is active on game days, on top of it, which he obviously should be. There are situations that you could potentially get him in the game and take advantage of him out in space.
What I like most of McFarland, the box score is not pretty. I believe it's 9 carries for 2 yards, I want to say, but I thought he ran tough. And I thought some of that after the catch and getting his foot in the ground, getting vertical, finishing some runs. And maybe that's the biggest difference I've seen from McFarland this year to past years, because he's shown his speed, but he's always shown his speed. He's always been a fast guy. He ran 4.44 coming out. That's not new, but I thought some of the toughness, even late in camp, I didn't necessarily see that early in camp. There was a run in team period, left sideline. He's, near the sideline, could go out of bounds and doesn't, and just puts his head down and gets an extra 3-4 yards. And I just thought last night there were some tough runs that weren't necessarily huge gainers, but just kind of showed, okay, this guy's running a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think they really wanted to see him try to pound that thing in down low. There.
On the end of the half there, yeah.
Right. I think that's probably one of the only negatives, and we'll obviously have to see how it was blocked up and all like
Sure.
that. Can't see it on a TV tape, but I think they were really hoping to, not that when you get into that situation moving forward into the regular season, that's going to be Najee or Jaylen Warren in there, right? But I think they were really wanting to see him try to pound that thing in there.
That's a good point. Yeah, I was referencing more of the early runs. That there was a catch that he had a check down or something where I thought he got some decent yards after. But obviously, as you said, in a real game, it's going to be Harris, Warren doing that kind of stuff. Other than that, unfortunately, the running backs didn't have a lot of room in this one. I thought that Valladay showed a little bit of something on that 22-yard reception down the right sideline. You can certainly see a bit of the explosiveness and the size that he has, but running lanes, once the first teamers came out, it was pretty scarce.
Yeah. Once you got into that second and third team offensive line group there, and once again, it's hard to judge by the TV tape there, but look, it's a tough uphill battle for a guy like Valladay at this point, for sure. I don't know how many special team snaps did he even play.
A good question.
Or how many snaps in general did he play? Got the sheet pulled up here right now. Valladay played 12 snaps on offense and none, 0.0 on special teams. Now, obviously, on a just joining in the team and just kind of being a semi-dress rehearsal, it was probably not a lot of time for him to endear himself to Danny Smith here. But if he's going to make this team at all, he's going to have to play on special teams, and having 0 snaps on special teams in this game, along with only 12 snaps on offense. Yeah, he's going to have to get a lot of work in this preseason finale and maybe he will. There's enough there that depending on how you're going to treat your starters, in this finale here against the Falcons on Thursday night, you can probably get a long look at him in all phases. I would expect to see him obviously get out there on special teams and maybe even play more than 12 snaps. Of the guys not named Harris, Warren, and McFarland, this is a guy that's the most intriguing, especially when it comes to potential practice squad spot.
I do like Greg Bell too, and I believe Tom Mead made a comment, something to that effect, in his 10 takes, which you guys should read. Go read Tom's 10 takes; they're fantastic post-game reading. How many special team snaps did Bell and Darius Hagans have? Do you have numbers on those two guys just to compare?
Let's see. Bell had 1 special team snap, and Hagans had 1.
All right. So I don't know what that one was. And clearly the running back's not getting too involved on teams last night.
Right. And McFarland was obviously part of some, he had 2.
The kick returns, right?
Yeah, those were kick returns.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I mean, it's not great for Valladay, but the fact the others weren't getting time either maybe helps his cause. They'll just take the best runner on the practice squad. Maybe that's the scenario there. Let's move to tight ends now. And I don't know if the actual play stuck out in any dramatic way. The All-22 is going to reveal more of that. But you had a bunch of touchdowns in this one. Frymouth caught a touchdown. Connor Hayward caught a touchdown. Obviously, Frymouth, adjusting back shoulder with a great grab down the seam. That's what he does. And so kudos to him. Hayward, being able to punch the ball in there at the end of the half, that was obviously big. Do you have a feel for Darnell Washington? I didn't get a feel for how I felt about Washington. Caught a 9-yard or 6-yard pass, but I don't really have any notes on him.
No, all I have is need a ladder in my notes. In other words,
on Washington.
Yeah, some of these, the way he was mugged down there a couple of times there. He is a guy that in the red zone you seriously have to consider because of that size and because of if he doesn't catch it, how are they going to prevent him from catching it, and is it going to cause him getting mugged like this? So in my notes I have need a ladder.
Okay, yeah, they did throw that.
They got to climb. They got to try to climb him.
Yeah, and the Bills DB tried to and got flagged for it, and that was one of the many. As you said, Buffalo was super sloppy last night, incredibly sloppy for playing their starters.
Yeah, look, and once again, you got to look at all. I mean, it's just preseason. You got to look at all facets of this. Sean McDermott can't be happy with that. They had so many penalties early on, and what was it? Something like 10 for 90 or something like that early on. I mean, they were, and they just looked out except for a couple of early, I think, kind of slants or whatnot. They really looked out of sync offensively there. And I mean, even the Steelers second team guys off the edge, and we'll switch over here. I imagine pretty soon here. The Steelers second team, edge rushers were kind of feasting on these tackles here.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about one Mr. Nick Herbig here in just a moment, but tight end group we'll delve into that more when the All-22 drops. Let's see, wide receivers. George Pickens just 1 catch, no targets for Deontay Johnson.
Allen Robinson did a nice settle there in kind of some zone. And there, I thought, it's not a lot to write home about in the stat sheet, but I think Kenny's comfortable with knowing that he knows where he's going to be on the field already when it comes to that. I thought Gunner really played hard. I don't know if it's going to be enough for him though at this point here. Austin, man, you better be careful when you single this guy up and press him on the outside if you don't get a hand on him.
Yeah, just the 1 catch, but it was a great release. I think as our Tyler Wise pointed out, over the middle and a 12-yard reception there. And of course, when we get to the special teams, we'll talk about the 54-yard punt return that he had. But I just had one critique of Austin, and it's not an earth-shattering revelation, but he is a guy where it feels like the ball's got to be thrown really right on him to make the catch. I think trying to throw outside his frame is tough to do. There was 1 deep ball left sideline, and I thought it was a good throw. I know those deep balls are not all going to be caught, but I don't think Austin even got a hand on it. So he's just a guy with that limited catch radius where that ball kind of has to be put right on him. And he'll make the play if you do, but there's kind of a small window to throw to.
Yeah, I have in my notes to try to get a better angle look at that, because that it does kind of feel like maybe that there was an opportunity maybe to catch that one. Now it might be the angle, that might be a yard out of bounds, too deep. But I reserve judgment on that one till maybe I can find a better angle. But look, I mean, we saw in that opener he can win over the top there, and he's another one that how many times have we talked about? I mean, if you get that explosive play component with him, even if a few of them come in the punt return or game like that, that's something that he can really factor in because especially early in games, if you use them in some of these jet sweeps or even fake jet sweeps and all like that, you've got to account for him because of that speed. Because if you don't, man, that's 25 yards down the field.
Yeah, whether you get him punt return or run game or pass game, doesn't matter. Big plays are big plays to help your cause, and Calvin Austin should be able to do that. And that's a great point on Allen Robinson. I mean, that's what he was traded to be. It's 3rd and 8. He's settling versus zone, makes a tough catch, takes a big shot after the catch there, but moves the sticks. I mean, that if you wanted one play to describe why Allen Robinson is here on the field, that is the play.
He can only catch 45 balls this season for 399 yards, and you get everything out of him that you hope to get out of him.
Yeah, it'll be the best 45 catch, 400-yard season you've ever seen, but that's right. What he's going to do. That the yards per reception is going to be low. I've said it many times. It's going to be Juju his final 2 years in Pittsburgh. It's short stuff. It's option routes. It's taking the shot over the middle. It's moving the sticks on 3rd down. It's not going to be big for fantasy owners. There might be a couple touchdowns in there, but it's going to be big for Pittsburgh.
And if you keep those top 4 healthy, you got a lot of mix and matching, obviously, that you can do, especially in the slot. And occasionally you can probably put Austin as the Z if you wanted to, and you should be able to move several of those guys around in this offense. And then obviously, you probably will see who ends up making if they keep a 5th or a 6th here. And we'll have a Miles Boykin discussion a little bit later. I think in this show, the reason why there's a good chance he's going to be on it. And once again, Olszewski's not a guy that's going to give you a lot in the passing game, but just other components of his game. The physicalness and the want-to aspect of it. And, I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to make the roster, but if he does, you kind of know what you're getting with him. Now, obviously, you don't want to get in a situation where you don't have your top 4 guys, right, there. But, at least you got a little bit of something beyond those guys in kind of specialized areas, if you will.
It's funny to say, I know we'll talk about it more with the special teams category, but if there was a loser to that Austin 54-yard punt return, it's Gunnar Olszewski, because I think Austin just locked up the punt return job, and that's going to squeeze Olszewski's role and value all the more. But you're right, and here's kind of a crazy thought. In some sense, Antonio Brown forcing his way out was almost in a present day way a good thing for Pittsburgh, because in the AB days, the receivers in Pittsburgh were pretty static. AB was the X, and you had the Z opposite, and your slot stayed in the slot, and those were the guys. And after him, you saw this team really open things up and mix and match, and everybody's playing X and Z and in the slot. And so it's not just, static. And so, as you said today, Johnson can play all over. Pickens is more versatile. Robinson, Austin can play inside, outside. And so I think you're going to offer more varied looks offensively because these guys aren't static anymore.
Then you can have fun with your flex. Hayward.
I almost forgot for a second. Yeah, Connor Hayward. And he can be just whatever you need him to be. He's a chameleon. Whatever you need him to be in that environment that he's in, he will become that thing.
Boy, just on that touchdown alone, the way he has to power through to that next level, to get himself open was impressive in and of itself.
Yeah, this guy it's so cliche. It hurts, I know, but he's just a football player. He's just that kind of guy that just makes plays.
Look, yeah, without a doubt, I think I think it's apparent they have skill players on the offensive side of that football right now. And Austin, at least to this point, looks like he played some during his rookie season, even though he didn't. And there's been an interview or two with him talking about, look, I wasn't playing, but I was in all those meetings and all like that. He's not coming out into these first 2 preseason games like, oh man, you can tell that guy missed time last week or last year with that there. And we already know what some of the progressions that Pickens has made. Deontay, as you wrote the other day, probably the guy that doesn't get enough credit for the camp that he had there. We know what Allen Robinson was before he landed in Pittsburgh. He still seems to be that guy. Connor, the uber versatile guy, if you will. Freiermuth's even that much more dangerous with all these weapons around him, especially in the middle of the field. And and we haven't even talked about, Darnell Washington Harley and how he can be used in this thing. So they have the weapons. It's just a matter of how they use them and they game plan around them and the execution standpoint. And that offensive line, especially in the first 2 preseason games, it looks like they got something there with beefing that up this offseason.
They've looked sharp. And just to go back to the skill guys briefly, I said before, it's the best group they've had since 2018. And I would argue it's a deeper group than what they had in 2018, which is probably better at the top with AB and Juju at their best, but didn't have the depth that the 2023 team has. And so, it's a really impressive group. But to go to the offensive line, obviously opening up the running lanes, I can't wait to see the all 22 version of the Warren run just to get a better angle of that. But you're right, say Amalu and Daniels. It was everybody. Cole on the backside cutoff there. Everybody, did a really good job there.
Baldinger's got one up. If you search real quick, he's got one up already of the end zone view on that.
Baldy loves his Steelers, and I love the quip that you made. I think he gets the Herbig alerts. There's a play from Herbig. That's literally the first tape I think he goes to every week now.
I do as well too, and that thing was blocked. Mason Cole, good job turning back, getting it turned back inside there, and all like that. So look, you expect more of that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the all 22 right now. Yeah, that is. Oh, look at the guards, Dave. I need a cold shower now. Look at say Malu and Daniels climb, and wow, it's a great rep there.
Yep.
Beyond that, did Broderick Jones really look bad on that one sack? I missed it because you get your head down in your notes and your tweets in my very millennial way sometimes. So I need to go back and watch that. But do you know what happened? Was there a bad?
No, I haven't gotten back to that, and I flew back through it last night. And once again, I had to wait till the all 22. So I'll have to look at that now.
I thought it was a bit curious the way that Tomlin deployed the second and third string tackles, because once the starters were done, then the second team tackles became Broderick Jones at left tackle and Dylan Cook at right tackle, which I thought was notable coming off the Thursday practice where we saw Cook run second team right tackle. And then we saw them exit relatively quickly, and then it became LaRaven Clark at left tackle, Spencer Anderson at right tackle. And then they just kind of rotated a bit. I don't know exactly what the charting will be from our Tom Mead on that, but do you have any sense of why that was?
I at first I worried that maybe something had happened with Broderick Jones there, but as you mentioned, maybe because of because Mike Tomlin talked the other day, the goal was get Broderick Jones all that exposure last week, and probably especially with it being down in South Florida and humidity and first time out and all. Maybe it was just a little bit related. Maybe they did all that matriculation there, or switching, the rotation that they did for the sheer fact that and Mike Tomlin kind of alluded to this after the game, especially when it came to Joey Porter Jr.'s usage there. This is a short week, and we want to make sure we set some of these guys up to be able to give them some good exposure and snaps in this preseason finale, because it is a short week. Because Broderick came back in, right?
But that was the weird part. Yeah, because I thought at first when he came out, okay, maybe they're just trying to manage reps, but then he came back in, which doesn't seem like it's still managing reps to some degree, but you're still playing him a fair amount.
Yeah, I don't understand that the rhyme and reason to it, and maybe he was dinged up. I don't know.
What do you make of Dylan Cook being the second team right tackle, which was over both LaRaven Clark and Spencer Anderson?
If you it looks like he's if he doesn't make the 53, then he's going to be a lock for the practice squad there. And for him to make the 53, though, the way you sit right now, it feels like they'd have to keep 10, doesn't it?
Probably, but I think Cook has had a really good summer, and a guy that they seem to like, and a guy who's been able to climb the ladder here late in camp.
I didn't get a sit. Where all did Anderson play in this one? I know he
started
played
right tackle. Did he got work at center late? I think it was just right tackle and some center late in this game, I believe.
Okay, he didn't get to left tackle in this one, did he? I don't.
No, it's the one position he has not played in the first 2 games. Inside a stadium.
He played 31 snaps in this, and I know he started it. Was that illegal hands on the face?
I didn't think so. unless it was right at the snap, maybe. I think they kind of cut it off, but the clip that I saw, no.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I have circled to look at here on the all 22. I was like, did they just, why'd they call illegal hands to the face on him? On that's one thing I wanted to check there. All right, Kendrick Green.
I tweeted it, and I shouldn't have tweeted it, but it's good to humble yourself sometimes. And I said, I think Kendrick Green's going to look pretty good at center tonight, and he didn't. It was so wrong. I was wrong in record time. And it's a couple of plays, but they're crucial ones. I don't know if he really should have been called for holding. I thought
he started off. Yeah, presented himself okay in this game, but it's like that kid going over the side of the cliff. Once you get going downhill there, you can't stop it there. He got progressively worse as the game went on.
Yeah, which is not what you want to see. And it's just one bad play can spoil everything. But as Mike Tomlin said, not good enough, and routine plays routinely. And you had the miscommunication on the snap, which I assume was more on Green than Mason Rudolph. And that leads to the turnover, which leads to Buffalo's first touchdown of the game and spoils the shutout Pittsburgh had working. And so, yeah, just as Mike Tomlin said, not good enough.
As we've stated, they have given him every chance imaginable this year. But I think if you just go back to last year alone, the fact that he couldn't get into any of these games and get any snaps or anything like that, or even dress, that spoke volumes in and of itself. And now they turn around and they're giving him every opportunity once again at this point. And I said at the end of the last podcast there, at this point now, it is malpractice for him, roster malpractice, if he makes this 53. And I think even didn't Bob Labriola have some sort of article or something and ask Bob or ask, whatever his segment is, that he thought that maybe there's a chance that he makes it as on the 53 as a backup center. At this point, I don't see how you'd let that happen.
Yeah, Labriola said that Kendrick Green is the most realistic and potentially only option at backup center that Pittsburgh has. And if that's true, then Pittsburgh's got some problems. But I think it will not be Kendrick Green as the backup center. I think internally, Nate Herbig's going to be the front runner. Hopefully that shoulder is going to be good to go for Thursday against Atlanta, because he's only taken, 9 snaps at center in the preseason. And so, get him more in-game experience and exposure would be really important. If not, and then we're talking, I don't think Spencer Anderson will be the immediate backup. So then we talk external options, Dave.
Right. I tweeted this, last week. The backup center is going to either be Nate Herbig or somebody not currently under contract.
And if it's not someone under contract, I'm going to continue to mention Jimmy Morrissey.
Okay.
As a potential option down there in Houston.
All right. We'll see how it plays out here, but I tell you what, at this point though, I think the hope is that you get Nate Herbig healthy to more than anything get him some snaps in this last preseason game at center.
And this is why I'm going to rant here for a moment, Dave, if you'll let me. I hate these preseason schedules with the stupid short week, Saturday to Thursday. How dumb is that? And you have this big layoff now, but after that, where that fourth game used to be, why not just make it Saturday and next Saturday? I know there's a cut down date, but you can move things around. You can make it work. And then when you only have 3 preseason games, a guy that misses one, now you missed a third of the preseason, and it just squeezes things all the more. And so it really makes time missed all the more valuable.
I would not get elected anything on when it comes to the NFLPA, and I'm a huge, me and the NFLPA. I root for them. Especially when it comes CBA time and all like that. But I do like me some 4 preseason games, man. I do like me some 4 preseason games, and I'm with you too on the short week. Why have the short? It doesn't make sense.
They get like a 17-day layoff from the last preseason game to the regular season opener. What are we doing here, guys? So yeah, I wrote you in to replace.
It all should be outside of the one team having the extra game for the Hall of Fame game. Which those guys really, if you want to be honest, but they should be awarded for that somehow, compensated for that because of the one extra game. Outside of that, in my opinion, everything should be and you know me and uniformity
that OCD kicking in,
obsessive compulsive and all like that. One of the many issues that I have, but I really think it should be uniform. I think every team should play on the same night during the preseason and same days off and all like that. I don't know why you stress teams like this, especially the fact that you don't have 4 preseason games anymore.
Right. I did write you in to replace DeMaurice Smith. Unfortunately, my campaign fell short, and you did lose out on the vote there. But
yeah, I don't think that would have happened regardless.
If it was you and I, we'd be running this thing back to like 1970s. I want 50 days of training camp, and I want 7 preseason games, and let's, have 100-man rosters. Let's do all that kind of stuff. But anyway,
17-round draft. Or
yes. Give me. Why don't they do that? I think the NFL would love the longer NFL draft. Who wouldn't want to have 10 rounds?
Well, I mean, look, and you could fly. We're going. Here we go.
Oh, I know. Look out. Fast forward if you want to hear nonsense for next 10 minutes.
I mean. Would 12 rounds of a draft kill you? I mean, they fly through these through the last day once they get to the 5th round anyway. I mean, just shorten the damn clock on the thing or whatnot. Just fly through it. These teams have the list because they're spending a lot of these later rounds anyway, getting on the phone trying to secure some of these undrafted free agents. Why? And some of these, undrafted free agents just get very piddling signing bonuses anyway. Isn't there a way where you could, make a standard, I don't know, signing bonus across the board once you get past 7th round for all these guys, add 5 rounds to the draft and just put it a minute on the clock or whatnot? I mean, you could wipe it up. But anyway.
Well, I just want to stay on that really quickly. I think I had a terrible take on this in the summer. I think the NFL should and probably will add at least an 8th round because you're getting so much talent at the college level. You're getting so many good guys that are going undrafted. And now you're getting UDFAs that are getting huge signing bonuses and partial base salary guarantees. And it might feel a little, unbalanced. And so why not add an 8th round that's going to have more draft picks, maybe not have the crazy guaranteed, all the loopholes of the undrafted period. I think they should add at least one more round.
Right. Yeah. Look, you don't have to trust my mom on that.
All right, we're gonna get back here. Anything else here on the Steelers offense? Yeah, Kendrick Green. I mean, it hasn't worked. Pittsburgh's tried. It hasn't worked. He cannot be the backup center. Who that guy will be? Herbig internally the favorite. Hopefully he can play Thursday. If not, then Pittsburgh's gonna have to keep searching.
All right. We'll talk more about offense and offensive line after the all 22 in the next show 24 hours from now. So let's switch over to the defensive side of football.
Yeah, and let's not start D-line. Let's start in the secondary and just the ball-hawking nature of the Steelers secondary. I know the offense gets the headlines here, but man, Pittsburgh getting after it, pass rush and coverage going together, but 3 picks by these cornerbacks. Joey Porter Jr., his first career interception. What a fantastic moment that was. Chandon Sullivan, a great tip drill diving pick on an RPO. Elijah Riley with a great play from Holcomb to tip the ball to pick that one off in the end zone. So all those guys, man, Dave, making plays.
Yeah, look, you even had Alex Highsmith out in the slot.
Yeah, and breaking up a pass on Stephon Diggs.
Right, break it up. I mean, who had that on their bingo card in this one? And even some of the early stuff there with some of the slants over Joey Porter Jr.'s side. I mean, those long arms are going to get in there sooner or later and break up one of those. I mean, he was close. I mean, yeah, he gave up the catches and all like that, but he was close. not that you didn't already know it going into this game, but there's some shots in this game. You just really see how long his arms are in this thing. And on that interception too, he talks about how they just had that conversation on the sideline where, if you get your guy over to that sideline over there, push him out of bounds. And he did. He pushed him out of bounds, and then he went sunk, found the football, and made the play on that one for his first career interception. So kudos to him, and I think Mike Tomlin laid it out the best. They have a plan for this guy. Make no mistake about it, right? And if you didn't think that going into last night's game or coming out of it when Mike Tomlin talked, now they have a plan for this guy for this guy at the start of the season. The problem is him missing that first preseason game and missing some of that camp time. They can't get him enough snaps quick enough here. And they got him what they thought they needed to. They would have obviously liked to have played him, I think, longer in this game against the Bills, but with him coming off of this injury and getting them lathered up pretty good in this game against the Bills, they wanted to make sure that they got him to the next stadium against the Falcons there. So
on the short week, which is again dumb,
right.
But they have the short week coming up.
Right. So if you didn't have a short week, or even this was a week where you had the extra day in it, you probably could have played him longer in this game. But I think Mike Tomlin made it pretty clear after this game. We're happy with everything that's going on with him. We just wish we could get him more snaps in the preseason here.
How many snaps did he play? I was guessing pregame he'd play around 20. I have no idea how many he played, so I guessed 20. How close was I to that number, Dave?
24. He played his number.
All right. He played his number. Yeah, there you go. And I know people will say, and it's partially true, the throw from Matt Barkley was not a great throw, and he was thrown basically right at Joey Porter, but when you play with your technique and you do your job, you create your own luck. You put yourself in good positions to make plays like that. And you're right. Cover 2, jam, reroute, sink, eyes on the quarterback, finish the play. He did everything right there. Even though it'll look like just a lame duck throw, almost thrown to Porter, but technically he did everything right on that play.
He really did. And you can't fault him for the quarterback that's in there or a throw a quarterback makes.
Yeah, and still, you've seen guys drop that football. Sometimes they drop those super easy ones because he just seems so easy, and Porter didn't, and he's worked on his hands so much, and it's really been paying off. And then, Riley and Sullivan, I mean, two guys, Dave, slot corner battles. I think they both make it.
It's hard to cut either one of those, especially with what Riley can give you on special teams on top of it there. So, man, they might just carry 6, right? I
mean, I think at the very least, Sullivan and Riley have earned the right to be on the 53 in their roles, and how much would a Sullivan play? I mean, we'll have to see on that, but I mean, both guys have been making a lot of plays.
Boy, that was a fantastic. It almost gets lost in everything that happened. Mm-hmm. That play by Chandon Sullivan to not only get there and bat that thing, but to come down with that ball was a play that probably won't get talked about coming out of the second preseason game. Let's see, defense. Trying to power through this real quick. Keanu Benton evidently did play in this game, but it was only 5 special team snaps there. So at least he was healthy enough to do that. And assuming he comes out of this thing fine, one would think that he'll get be back on a defensive line in this finale on Thursday. They probably just wanted him to get running around a little bit there and do some stuff on special teams. He obviously wasn't healthy enough to play on the defensive side of football. All right, let's go to the elephant in the room here on defense.
All right, do you want to talk to safety just really briefly, just to kind of finish up the secondary? I mean, not a ton to note there. Trenton Thompson, probably a little over-aggressive, but he's kind of a downhill physical guy that I think has done well overall. It was interesting. They were rotating Neal and Casey. In my early charting, I'm only through maybe the first quarter so far. Neal was a strong safety in base, in their base 3-4, and then Casey would come in nickel. So you may actually have a nickel-base safety rotation opposite of Minka this year.
And didn't I kind of talk about possibility thinking that could happen earlier in the offseason when you put it to me?
I'm sure you did. I don't remember for sure, but
it makes sense.
True.
I mean, it does make sense to work it that way, right? With Neal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you haven't seen that kind of rotation too often, but yeah, I think it's maybe the direction Pittsburgh's going to go to get all those. I mean, you're going to see rotations at safety and inside linebacker this year. It feels like.
Right.
All right, Dave. Let's get to Mr. Nick Herbig, who just continues to ball out, and whether it's playing the run, getting pressure, taking the football away, just being an energy bringer. I mean, what more can you say about this guy?
Man, at this point, man, I'm ready to have a bite of bird.
Yeah, we're gonna get our crow here.
With him, I think I don't care how he plays on the edge; he gets to run at this at this point now, and that's going to continue to be a question I think that needs to be answered about him. But so far, even when it comes to that aspect of his game, his quickness and his ability to kind of dip some of this stuff to get in on the run has been impressive. So I'll worry about the run defense as and setting the edge as we move forward within this, but his ability to rush the passer just cannot be ignored, even at this stage of what did he play in the first one? 13 snaps, and he played 27. So we have 40 defensive snaps through the preseason on tape. Now, you obviously watched them all throughout training camp and all like that, but I mean, you were impressed with what he was as a pass rusher. We already knew he had a good get off. That was not an issue coming out of college there. We already knew the first step and all like that was there. Obviously his pass rush percentage was good coming out of Wisconsin as well too. He is already adding to his repertoire, I think, of pass rush moves. Now, you look at that in a vacuum and you say, well, okay, he's got Watt there, he's got Highsmith. Look, all these guys come into the NFL probably with somebody on their squad that can help them that can teach them stuff.
Sure.
All right. That's not unique to this. The uniqueness to this, and where a lot of guys don't make it, is you can be taught something from another player and learn something till the cows come home. It's being able to applicate that in situations, in game situations, and not look robotic doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the difference of these mid to late round edge rushers, that's where you find winners within in these things. And look, does it hurt that it's Watt or it's Highsmith or it's Marcus Gold? I thought the kid put it perfectly. I mean, I got 3 All-Pros, three experienced edge rushers in this room. Why wouldn't I listen? I mean, that soundbite is absolutely fantastic. But just because, and here comes one of my favorite quotes that my old man used to use on me all the time when I'd make mistakes, or try to be something I wasn't. He said, Dave, he said, just because you stand in a garage doesn't make you a car. Just because he's in that room with those 3 guys does not by osmosis make him, a good pass rusher or a better pass rusher. What I feel coming out of just these 40 snaps is you're seeing him already progress and take these things that he's learning from these guys and applying them. And look, I mean, I think you put it out there last night. You're not a huge fan of that jump cross chop,
mm-hmm.
but
it works for him.
Damn it, he won with it. And you slow that tape down, even a TV tape, and you see the get off, you see the bend, you see the balance, and you see the finish just on that one play alone there, let alone mean, he had some good. He probably should have had a sack early in this game or a strip early in this game as well too. Herbig, just as a pass rusher, that even the damn false start over there on the left tackle in that game, freeze that and look at where Herbig is by the time. The get off that kid has is amazing here, and if he ever gets speed, some speed to power down, completely, and it's going to even make him that much more dangerous. But my takeaway now after these snaps is, he can stay out on the edge just fine. Moving that kid inside right now would be a disservice to him, because you can carve out ways to get him on the field to take advantage, I think, of his pass rushing ability.
And you don't have to think too hard about carving out those ways. Just play him, put him out there, rotate him in, let him make plays. I think you said everything so well, Dave. I'm ready to run through a wall right now. Like, after hearing that, I think it's all just really positive.
Look, sometimes we miss on these guys, man, and we're not. This guy has the ability to be the next Van Noy. To some degree, because Mark, the same Marcus Golden. The knock on him was some of the length. Look, you look at the percentages on the measurables when it comes to edge guys over the years. It's not favorable at all. And you've had some flashes come out of college in the past that really were undersized, that put up, huge pass rush productivity numbers and all like that, and they fall by the wayside here. But once again, I think the thing that hit home with me last night was you're seeing him already grow in the counter and in the pass rush plan ability with him. And at least me, I was not thinking you move him off the ball based on get-offs. The thing that was consistent with him in college was he was an athletic dude coming off the edge there and had to get off and all like that, could win the edge and all like that. It's just, how was he going to progress from that guy? And I think with the 30 snaps so far, we have already seen that with him, and that's probably been the most impressive thing. And we'll see how he does against the run and all moving forward there. There's probably going to be questions about that until he fully answers them and all. But for what he does as a pass rusher right now, keep his ass on the outside. I'll eat that bird.
The things I like the most, and you made mention of it, is how quickly he's learning. He mentions, he's just talking with TJ Watt on the sideline, and they say, "Hey, let's go try this." And he goes out there and does it just on the fly, and gets the strip stack fumble on that play. And even, and what made me laugh the most was the other day before this game, Alex Highsmith made the comment of, "Hey, I was talking to Nick and trying to learn his moves." When was the last time you heard a veteran like Highsmith or anybody? Because I talked to the rookie and said, "What do you do?" He's got a little jump step, Euro step thing in there, and I want to use it. And so it's not student surpassing master, but it's showing how advanced Herbig seems to be. But his work ethic, his desire to learn, to get better, to, as you said, take advantage of the opportunity, being in a room with Watt and Highsmith and Golden, really good environment for him to be in. And is there a better system to play in than Pittsburgh for a 3-4 pass rusher? There's not. But on that strip sack fumble, just to see the bend there that he had. I can't believe he was able to corner and flatten and stay on his feet and go make that play. It is, and this is going to be a heavy comparison, I'm just saying it kind of in that moment, Von Miller, like the old joke about Von Miller is he could run under a coffee table because of that bend and that ankle and hip flexibility. And to see that from Herbig even kind of had me going, wow, what a moment.
And on top of what all we have said here is he's playing on both sides. And I think in statistically him off of the left side, isn't that his better side coming out?
I'm not sure.
I have to go back and look at it and all, but he is adjusting to playing both sides of this thing, so so add that on top of it. It's one thing to take a kid like this with the get off and the pass rush productivity with his measurables to come in and to be able to do it on one side. But he is showing that he can get some wins on both sides of this thing now. And I mean, if just by osmosis alone, he's going to get stronger. So, and probably thicken up just a tad. And, that's another thing to look forward to. So, yeah, I mean, put me in the believer category right now with him just after 30 snaps. I was wrong. He needs to stay out on the edge. He's not going inside anytime soon.
No way. And we'll talk about it more probably next episode, but how do you work the rotation behind Watt and Highsmith? I think obviously Herbig is going to play and Golden's still going to play too, but maybe you do a side thing where it's, Herbig one side primarily, Golden the other, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. The last thing I wanted to mention on Herbig, you referenced that pressure he had earlier in the game that forced an incompletion from Josh Allen. I mean, that was power. I mean, that is power on not just anybody, but the Bills left tackle Dion Dawkins, a two-time Pro Bowler who's made the Pro Bowl each of his last 2 seasons. And I mean, that is just, the power to kind of jolt and shock the tackle back and then disengage and gain the corner there, work half man and impact the throw. And so even though he's not a bigger, necessarily the strongest guy, when you have really good placement on your punch, that's right in the chest of the left tackle and your feet and hands are coordinated and the timing of your punch is good, that creates power, and you saw power on that rush.
I can predict to you probably what T.J. Watt's telling him today in the film room on that sack. Ball hunt.
Yeah, ball. And he did.
Well, I mean, if he
oh, you saying you said on the sack, or are you saying
no, not on the sack, on that particular play. Look, he still caused Josh Allen to throw it into the ground. In that one, but if he, and I'll be interested to see the end zone view of it. Watt will tell him to go after the ball next time.
Sure, yeah, for sure. But overall, really good day for him. So we'll continue to evaluate him, and I think we have some film rooms coming up on one Mr.
Hey, Marcus Golden wasn't no slouch in this one either. He just the kid stole all the thunder. He forklift Golden forklift Brown over there on that other side there, on the one that ended up with the holding call on him on that other side. I thought Golden played a pretty decent game in this one too. And even early on a play, I think that was a penalty there, the pass over to the right side, seeing Marcus Golden. And that's one of the things we noted in the in once Golden was signed, was the breakdown was the way he hustles after the football there. So I don't know how he's going to have it. Obviously most of my eyes were on Herbig in this one. But I would imagine Golden's going to grade out pretty decent in this one.
Sure. I'm with you. I mean, the depth that Pittsburgh has compared to last year is such a night and day difference. And it's going to be one of the most beneficial things for this defense.
Oh, and Herbig also can get downfield on special teams.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a hair on fire kind of dude. And so, I mean, this is a guy that's going to make an impact from day one. And he already has obviously made an impact this summer.
Right.
All right, let's see. Back up outside linebackers, don't have a lot of notes there. Quincy Roche not playing. He's got to be hurt. There's no other reason why he wouldn't play in this game, right?
Yeah. Let me double check the snap counts.
I think at least you tweeted last night about players that the game book didn't have as participating, I believe.
He ended up playing 5 special team snaps, it looks like.
Okay, that's even a worse sign, because why wasn't he in there on defense?
Right. The updated game book. And what I tweeted out last night was, well, look, here's the game book, even the updated game book. It says did not play Quincy Roche. And then down in the snap category here, they have him down for 5 snaps. So
we'll have to check it. Very interesting sign there on him. It was a lot of Paralysis and Dukeway getting time. Anyway, let's go to the inside linebackers now. I mean, I thought it was a good performance overall. Landon Roberts continues to be a downhill, physical, face in the fan kind of dude. Cole Holcomb, tip drill that leads to the interception in the red zone. That's taking points off the board from Buffalo. That's a huge play there. Yeah, I mean, overall, Mark Robinson can hit, which we already knew, but still good, still fun to watch. It's just a solid performance.
Yeah, look, I thought the top, I thought Muse even did some good things in this game, especially asking these guys to come downhill. I thought they did a fantastic job. That's as nuanced as I got going back through the TV tape. We'll see what the end zone view. And then obviously, I think the other thing that stuck out to me on the interception was Holcomb. Look at his head. Look at how his head's on a swivel on that interception, watching where people are coming from to get himself in a position there. I think that's one thing that, at least on the end zone shot that they have of that interception, that's one of the things that stuck out to me on that play is him just noticing where guys are coming from into the middle of the field as he's gaining a little bit depth in there. The only negative thing in there was the fact that he didn't make the interception.
Right. No, I didn't even notice that about him on a swivel there. So I want to go back and watch that. And yeah, Muse was on my winners list because he had the fumble recovery. He had a big hit over the middle to force an incompletion, had a good run stop with Nick Kwiatkowski. What was Kwiatkowski? He didn't play on defense. Was he down for special team snaps in this game?
Not seeing him on the snap list, but didn't they list him in the did not play category?
Maybe.
No?
It was late last night. Either way, he didn't play on defense.
Yeah, they listed him as not playing, and they don't have him listed as any special team snaps.
With that right shoulder. And so Muse may have just locked in the spot last night over Kwiatkowski.
Possibly, yep.
All right, defensive line. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, go ahead. We got to get to special teams at some point, but let's go to defensive line. I don't have a lot of notes there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to go back, watch all 22. Didn't seem as sharp. Pass rush really wasn't there from the linemen. Thought Lattimore was on the ground for one play on a decent run by Buffalo. Have to kind of check the run defense overall, but, Benton didn't play defensively, so don't have a whole lot of notes there.
Yeah, I don't either. Adams, I thought was okay. I mean, he remains a starter in there. Maybe he's going to end up sticking with this thing. But if he does, who does it? Is it Loudermilk? Even if they keep 7, who's the odd man out there?
I mean, if they keep all 3 nose tackles, we just assume that,
could Fehoko be the odd man out here?
Potentially.
Or I think on your Watts. I mean, could Watts? I mean, you Kevin Barlow'd him. I think in your last 50. I mean, could he be the odd man out? It's a good problem to have that we're 2 games through this thing in preseason here and a full training camp, and we're wondering about who's going to be the 7th defensive lineman because they've got some choices here.
Yeah, tough cuts for sure. All right, Dave, let's get to special teams, and Danny Smith can chomp that gum very happily. Great special team showing overall, whether it's the Austin punt return, Miles Killebrew with a partial punt block, Presley Harvin punting the ball well, great special teams gunner action from Miles Boykin to down one inside the 10, Des Fitzpatrick with a tackle late as a gunner. Overall, really impressed.
Yeah, Danny's getting that special bubble gum today. I would imagine
the fancy bubble gum.
Yeah, because it looked good top. And then, man, you talk about what Calvin Austin can give you as a returner, and I don't think that thing was really all that blocked up super special. It's just that speed, man. He can make something happen with it there. I thought Presley Harvin, because a couple of those end up. What was his average? Probably wasn't great, right? Because he was kicking on some shorter fields there. Presley Harvin
it was like 38.
Yeah, 38.2. You look at that, you say, but 5 inside the 20. Out of 5 punts, 5 punts.
That's pretty good.
5 inside the 20. He did have a long of 52 within there. 0 touchbacks, obviously. I mean, you talk about a guy that you wanted to come out after after watching his backup, just give kind of a meh performance and we've talked about Presley Harvin and the consistency thing. I don't think you could have scripted a better outing for Presley Harvin in this thing. Killebrew got his fingertips on one. And I can't wait to see the all 20. It seems like they got pretty damn close on that one down in the end zone as well too, didn't it?
I'd have to check. I don't remember top of my head, but yeah, that was working left to right. It was close. Yeah, I don't know. It was hard to tell, but Really good outing there. Yeah, I probably should have put Harvin officially on my winners list. I think I maybe referenced him, but he was in positional grades and obviously got some good contributions from those Gunners. But I'm pretty confident to say Presley Harvin will be this team's week 1 punter.
Boykin and Pierre both doing what they do out on the edge. Thought Riley showed up. I thought Herbig down there with, I think, Riley on one of those did well on special teams.
Rodney Williams had a good, team's tackle. Yeah. This tight end room's good, man. This tight end room's top to bottom. They've all been impressive.
Yeah. I don't see how you don't give special teams an A.
I did, yeah. My positional grades, I think, had him an A because the only thing they did wrong was having 12 men on that field goal extra point attempt there that let Buffalo get that 2-point conversion. So that's probably the one sour note. If that's the worst thing that happened, then it's a pretty good night.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree.
Let's just one last mention here in terms of guys that should be considered winners of the night. You got to give some credit to Matt Canada. I know it's preseason and the game planning's not the way it is, come week 1, but this offense has looked crisp and efficient and effective, and Pickett's allowed his team to throw the ball and take some shots downfield. And obviously the players are executing, but as much crap as Canada largely rightfully has gotten in his 2 years as the Steelers OC, kudos to him. If this offense can be half of what it is now in the regular season, Canada's gonna do his job and probably keep his job.
Offensive coordinators are like long snappers. If you're not talking about them, it's probably a good thing, right?
Yes, I love that. Bumper sticker, that one for sure.
We get some T-shirts made up on that one. The fact that you had to go out of your way to fit him in at the end probably speaks volumes. Mention his name probably speaks volumes in and of itself.
Yeah, he can finally go get a bite to eat in Pittsburgh without getting yelled at. So it's a good thing.
I'd still wear that hat and those sunglasses probably, but
right.
Point taken.
Yeah, he does love that. All right, Dave. Any final thoughts here from this game?
No, just now excited to. Look, Mike Tomlin had these guys ready to play. There's no doubt about it. Watt saying, man, it felt like what was Watt's quote? Something about 28 days or.
Yeah, let me get the quote. It was really, I love the quote here. Let me find it if I can. It looks like we were locked away for 28 days at camp.
Right. In other words, they came out, they was ready to play, Good
chemistry.
I think from top to bottom, Tomlin had those guys ready, and I don't think McDermott had his guys ready to go in this one. So they're once again for a preseason game, you have to come away. There's no way that you don't come away with this thing, even trying to suppress your fanboy inside without being a little excited. I mean, that's my main takeaway from this whole performance on I said at the top of the show, shame on them for not shutting them out. I mean, that's probably the only real negative takeaway from this, because it was all three phases a really good showing, and to come out of a second preseason game, which I'm guessing this was as close to a tune-up as you're going to get.
I mean, Tomlin hinted they're going to play starters against Atlanta, but I don't know, how much that'll be. They played starters in that third game pretty heavily last year, I think, against Detroit, but obviously each year's different.
I mean, I don't know how much more I want to put on tape, right?
The only downside.
You know what? I'd cancel this thing if I could get right on. But I mean, you got to get guys like Joey Porter and Benton, and me personally, if I play the starters on both sides of the football, because there's something about the momentum aspect of it too, right? I mean, and then I don't know. But where I'm going with this is on Thursday night, I probably play that offense one series and hope that I get another 7-8 play touchdown or field goal drive out of it, and then on defense, man, if I can get a 3 and out or something like that, I'll let those boys take it to the house.
Yeah, I'd wrap the defense up pretty early in this one. I probably wouldn't even play, or very limited fashion play, Hayward and Minka and all those guys. The only downside for the offense is it's been so good. The first team offense in the 2 games has had 17 snaps. And I think he probably won a bit more than 17 snaps for this offense. Mike Tomlin even made the comment mid-game yesterday that, he wanted to play this team more, but they did their job and they did so quickly. He's just kind of hard to put him back out there. So the only downside to them scoring so fast is that they're actually not getting a ton of reps out there.
they're Chip Kelly in it.
They are, yeah. I mean, they just go, 3 plays, touchdown. I mean, because they had a 10-play drive in the opener, and that they were done after that. And they had, I think a 6-play drive that led to the Warren touchdown, and then 1 play Pickett to Freiermuth, and that was it. They've only played 17 games or 17 snaps in the 2 games.
Look, can't have it both ways. We've been hollering for some explosive plays and putting the ball in the end zone from outside of the red zone, and they're doing that, So, I mean, so be it. I mean, if they get out there and run a 6-play drive against the Falcons and put it in the end zone, pack it up.
Yeah, these are all good problems to have. So,
right.
Dave, I know we're running long here, but so much to talk about today. Any last second reader emails, or do you want to close out today's show?
No, let's do the reader email because we'll be back tomorrow, right?
Oh, yeah, I lose track of the day. You're right. We'll come back tomorrow and probably take care of all that.
All right, so why don't we do that tomorrow? And we'll have more to talk about the All-22, and probably won't be much news to mix in there and all like that. So we got a good 90 minutes, I think, on our own tape today here. Look, people got some apologies and everything in here. I don't know. They got some great analysis. They got some apologies. They got some crow eating. What more could the listeners want in this one?
Yeah, and listen, we'll tell it to you straight. And we're both excited. We know it's preseason. That the feeling could change, and probably again there are going to be some bad moments for this team. So get ready for that. It's the ebb and flow of the season. But right now, it's hard to script this thing any better.
All right. You can follow me on X/Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. We got a lot of film rooms coming out, folks. Be ready for those this short week here. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigation bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar. Shout out to our staff, man. We don't. We can't do all this by ourselves. You ought to see the stuff that goes on behind the scenes with these guys to get out the content that they get out during game, after the game, the days after the game here. It gives the whole goal of this too was to give Alex and myself more time to do what we really love, and that's watch football. And talk about football. So shout out to those guys. We've got a great crew: Matthew Marksey, Jonathan Heitritter, Josh Carney, Joe Clark, Tony, Jeremy. I mean, the list goes on and on. Tyler Wise. I mean, Tom's 10 takes. If you haven't gotten by, if you do one thing today, go by SteelersDepot.com, read Tom's 10 takes. I look forward to that just as much as I do Stats of the Weird with Alex Kozora. So and this show would not be possible without you guys listening or reading the site. So thank you. Until Monday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.